Do you see that? That's the real world. For just about all of human history, if you wanted a job, you had to work out there. But in the past few decades, a little thing called the internet has changed all that. In barely a generation, we've seen the rise of dozens of new career paths that anyone can theoretically aspire to. YouTuber, podcaster, independent author, Instagram model, Twitch streamer, the list goes on and on. Sometimes these are all lumped together under the label influencer, but that's so broad as to be meaningless. I've been on YouTube nearly 10 years now, as an amateur, a professional, and now a semi-pro. I have lots of thoughts and opinions about what the industry is like. Others have different thoughts and opinions though, so I decided to ask them, why is YouTube? Hello, everyone. You just watched the intro thing, so now you see me on my webcam, which is even crappier than normal because I'm on my old laptop instead of my desktop. But today I'm here with the Burgerkrieg. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hello, I'm the Burgerkrieg. Some people know me as Gideon. I'm me most of the time. Sometimes I'm not when I dream at night and I become some sort of fantasy character. I talk about things that interest me on camera, and I also write books. That's sort of the thing that I do. And I think that's how I met James here at some point, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was on like a charity stream, right? Like
yeah, I believe
Tim's
what the
charity
first time.
stream.
Yeah, I believe the first time we actually met was on Hello Future Me's
Yeah,
charity stream.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think I saw some of your stuff before that, but I don't remember. It's
yeah.
been
I've been aware of your content for a long time. I have been stalking you.
oh cool. I like having stalkers. That's the best part about the internet.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be on this program. I feel very honored.
I have to ask you, you're a YouTuber, you're a couple of different things, it sounds like. When you first started on YouTube, were you planning on doing this as a career?
So I wanted to. I liked the idea of YouTube, even when in like back when YouTube was in its absolute early days. I was already thinking like, oh, this is a something that I think the future of entertainment would be going through. Like I'm talking like I was in middle school. It was like 2007. And I was like, okay, this is going to be the future of entertainment. And as so often, I was proved right because I am the smartest man in the world. Um, yeah, I wanted to do it professionally, which at the time I had this like youthful arrogance of being like, of course, this is not a pipe dream. And then I realized eventually that I would actually much rather be a writer. And so at some point, I was at university at that point, and I was horribly depressed. I was going through like the worst several year mental health crisis ever. I thought to myself, I feel like writing novels, it takes such a long time to even get to the skill level that you need. I need like a safe option. I need a second thing that I do. I need a day job. And then I started YouTube with that goal in mind, which means that I most of the time I ended up selling strawberries
Wait,
because obviously, you know.
wait, what do you mean selling strawberries? Is that a euphemism for
No,
something?
it's not you. I used to sell strawberries. I was a seasonal strawberry salesman. I had like a bunch of side gigs a lot of the time
Oh, okay. I didn't know
because
that was an
obviously
actual
you can't
job.
just. But I did very much go at this with the idea of like this is something I could just do. This thing that everyone wants to do, the brand new thing that everyone dreams of. I could definitely be successful doing this.
I feel like you were very forward thinking because I mean, I think I'm a few years younger than you. I also remember when YouTube first became a thing. I wasn't thinking like this is going to be the future of entertainment. This is going to subsume traditional television and movies or anything. I was just thinking back then that every 6 months we get one viral video about, and it would be some weird flash animation or something with a catchy song, and we would just watch that over and over again for 6 months until a new one came out. So I wasn't thinking it was going to
Yeah.
replace anything. I personally was not expecting it to blow up and become as universal as it is.
No, I absolutely did. Though it is interesting to think back to those times when there was like the viral video that everyone had seen, when there was like the YouTube community, right? When there was like the like, oh, you had like Annoying Orange,
Yeah.
Ray William Johnson, the microwave guys, and people like everyone knew. And this was like in the Fine Bros, not villain era,
Yeah.
where people were like watching that content and everyone knew about it, which is, of course, that's not the world we live in anymore.
Yeah, no, like it was everyone watched the same stuff. It is very
Yeah.
strange to look at it now because like it's so much bigger and it's subdivided into so many smaller communities. It's very strange to me.
There's a guy, I forget his name, but he calls himself the first king of YouTube. Oh shit, I'm blanking on the name right now. I had it at some point. He's like a super OG YouTuber, the first YouTuber to be like huge. And he was just like an old man who started doing this and then found himself in this situation of like, oh, okay, I'm someone now. Apparently, I didn't expect this.
So walk me through the creation of your content, like from conception all the way up to release. What's your process like?
I have a collection of notes. I have like currently it's on like the Microsoft OneNote app where I have just tabs and tabs and tabs. I love tabs and tabs and tabs. I have a lot of tabs in my browser. I am a tabs guy. But there it's just like I have like a one collection of notes, and then each has like a topic, and whenever I have an idea for one of them, I like throw something in there, and they need to sort of grow over time, right? They need to accumulate and they need to filter stuff out, and then eventually I will be looking at that and like something will stick out to me, and I will actually put in a lot of the work, then most of the work, then aside from like a passive income of ideas, if you will, to develop that thought. Then I'll ask the questions that I want to ask. I'll do the research on it. Sometimes I will start writing a script when I'm not quite sure yet what the video is about. Like, obviously, I will know what the video is about, but there's like what the approach is that I'm going to take to it. Like narratively, ideologically, that kind of stuff. I will write about it for a while, and then the pattern will reveal itself to me. Then I'll write the script, and then I'll record it, edit it, upload it. That's basically the thing.
I just know that your content covers a lot of different topics, so I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe the way you handled it for different stuff is different.
No, it's all just things that interest me. So I don't really have to handle different stuff differently. Obviously, I there's a different when I do a video about like World of Darkness, there's a different the research process is a bit different, right? There's more of a I have to identify the books that there's information about this for, and then I have to look into that as the primary sources. Basically, I develop some ideas based on that. When I do a video about feminism, there's also like research and reading involved, but it's more about developing the idea. The research and reading is more like just general books that I have read that are in my mind and that I think about, or like discourse that I have seen. Sometimes I'll read an extra book for that kind of content, but it's more about like the rhetoric than a presentation of information. But the fundamental process is the same still.
So once you started pursuing this as an actual job, about how long did it take you to start making enough money to support yourself?
I am probably the luckiest man on this platform. It took me about, I believe, 2.5 years until I, with my measly sort of 15,000 subscribers, um, had I asked people to do that. Back then, I asked people to donate to my Patreon. I had there was a really shitty day in my life, still the worst day emotionally for me, and I was like, this is the one thing I have. YouTube is the one thing I have that's going somewhere for me, and I begging you to make this happen for me. And then the Patreon exploded, like genuinely exploded. I was doing super well in it. I don't even remember the exact number, but at that point, then very soon after, obviously 2020 hit, and like that really rapidly rattled
Yeah.
down, which is why
Yeah.
yeah. So that sort of fell over, and there was like a dip in it that lasted for a few years, and now I'm let's say I'm, especially after like recently I did a sort of a fireside chat to discuss the way that the Patreon is going to go from now on forward, and adding some extra content, releasing my novel and that sort of stuff. Um, I'm in a decent place now. I'm not in a great place. I'm in a place where I don't fear the end of the month every month anymore. And there was a period of time while I was making money off YouTube where that was the case, but this is no longer so.
So, would you say that your business model relies on whales? And by whales, I mean like just a small number of customers that spend a lot of money on you.
Um, you would think so, right? But I mean, I do have a few people who spend a lot of money on me. There were in the beginning. This is an interesting thing, right? Because when I started doing YouTube, I was much more political, and in the beginning, there were a few people who would offer me a lot of money to platform and sort of discuss not necessarily conservative viewpoints, but conservative adjacent viewpoints. Right? There was a guy who was like, if I will pay you $500 if you talk to this random libertarian that
Oh,
has even fewer subscribers than you. And I was at a couple thousand subscribers. Um that kind of thing. And they weren't happy with me in the end because I would always put a sort of non-conservative twist on it, right? I feel like they were trying to go like, "Oh, I'll pay you." It wasn't like the amount of money that probably the most of the right-wing grifters get, but they were seeing me and they were thinking like, "Oh, this guy is kind of he knows how to use rhetoric, and so we can probably pay him off." And then when I talked about a lot of shit, um, I would conclude that the conservative position was wrong.
oh,
And I feel like to them, the implication was, of course, that I wouldn't say that, which to me is a bizarre thing because obviously these people would pay me money to just genuinely engage
yeah.
in research. So that has, let's say, stopped completely. There are a few people who are very generous patrons on Patreon, but mostly it's like a lot of different people who give me a small-ish amount of money. So I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah, occasionally people will still pay me to, review books. And I used to allow
Yeah.
people to like send in their own books to have me talk about, but that one just started to feel like there was a conflict of interest there somewhere. Like they were expecting
Yeah.
to be a little too nice about it. And I mean, a
This
lot of the
is
books I got were not terrible necessarily, but they really needed work. So I was honest about that. And I feel like I may have hurt some people's feelings inadvertently in that.
I this has happened to me a few times. I think like once or twice, where someone and I did genuinely try to read those books. I remember, actually, I have received a few books that I've never read. I'm looking at one in my bookshelf right now that actually looks really interesting. But I remember one. It had a really really cool premise of like it was sort of a steampunk World War I, Eternal War type world. But I received the physical copy and like the writing was, I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't very polished. The problem was that the font was like tiny. And
Oh,
I had to like I almost I don't I'm not I don't have I'm like not really I'm not visually impaired. I couldn't read it. And then there was another novel that was also very cool, but it was like I just lost interest because it felt like furry stuff. I think that for that one there was genuinely a market. This is much more common now with people who pitch me their role playing games, and I do look into those. It's just, and a lot of the time they look interesting. The problem is just that I don't know when I'll get around to them. People have offered me even money for that, and I'm like, I make this is a very strict about making content only about things that interest me. So
mhm.
I'm not gonna like I can't make those like guarantees to you in a professional sense, and I don't want to be unprofessional when dealing with you. Um, But I think eventually I'm going to get around to some of those. Actually, the other day, not to like belabor this point, it was actually a I think no, it was today actually. I received an email that made me smile because I used to send short stories to all manner of people, content creators that I liked, because I was trying to spread them. And like today, somebody sent me a short story of theirs. I haven't even looked at the email. I just saw it on my phone that like because I don't check emails on Sunday.
Hmm.
I just saw on my phone the notification that I got it, and I don't know if I'll check it out. I don't know if I'm now the person that ignores that, but I did feel sort of heartened by reading that like somehow now I am a person that people look to sort of send them that kind of thing.
Yeah, it
Um,
is kind of an
yeah.
interesting feeling. Like they value your input that much and they care that much about your
Mhm.
opinion. The amount of content on the internet and on YouTube especially is just constantly growing and changing. When you first started, how did you manage to stand out among the crowd, and how is that different from how you try and stand out today?
I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I'm not really. I guess I've like the thing that I've always done, the thing that I always try to do is like actually talk to people, not like talk to people, but actually try to understand where people come from with their thoughts and their ideas. Um, and to engage with them on like in like a non-partisan sense, perhaps, even though I am deeply partisan.
Yeah.
Um, there is, I think actually the thing that did make me stick out because a lot of the comments that I see on my videos is like, oh, this is an idea that I've never seen sort of expressed this way. This is I feel like if I clicked on this video by any channel that had like 10 times the subscriber count that you do, I would be able to predict the content of the video, and with you that's not the case. So I really think that for me it's really being authentic instead of optimizing my content and my talking points. That's kind of what I mean, I'm helpless, I can't not do that.
Mhm.
But I really actively I try not to compromise. I try to really just offer, really go out of my way to seek and offer novel perspectives on things, and to give. When it comes to like tabletop and role playing game content, it's about like giving people ideas, like trying to view things from various different angles. When it comes to sort of more ideological content, it's more about like, well, it's kind of about the same thing, giving people access to various different perspectives and making them think about something in a new way. Um, that's more important to me. Like sparking new insights and like inspiration is much more important to me than sort of polishing everything to be like the neatest thing that it can be. So it's the most marketable version of itself. And I think that kneecapped me for a while. I got a lot of advice from senior YouTubers on how to improve my thumbnails.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Benji from Tail Foundry, who has spent many hours with me teaching me how to use Photoshop better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I'll admit my thumbnails haven't always been the best, but they have been my thumbnails. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. This is I have this. Everyone recognizes my thumbnails because of the sort of psychedelic style
Mhm.
that I use for them. And I also recognize yours because they have this like ever so slightly trashy vibe, but it's trashy in an intentional way that
Yeah.
makes me as like a connoisseur of thumbnails think this guy knows why he's doing this.
Yeah.
This is not an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that kind of ties back into what you were saying. Like just being authentic is a lot more important than optimizing. Because
Yeah.
if you just say what you think people want to hear, or you just do what you think they want to see, it's always going to have a slightly fake vibe to it. Like
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
like say Mr. Beast, I think is a good example of this. He just always feels a little bit fake. I don't hate Mr. Beast. I'm not going to get into like a lot of details about him or anything, but just he feels slightly fake. Whereas with
Yeah.
I work kind of similarly to you. I try and be as authentic as possible because that creates a level of trust with your audience. You know, that they know that
Yeah,
when
I
they
know that's why I like your content because it really feels like I'm actually it's like James that's speaking to the camera, not James the YouTube persona, right? It's a guy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I have gotten comments before that are some variation of I may not always agree with what James is saying, but I know that's what he thinks. That's actually how he feels.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, if anyone's watching this looking for advice, I would just say, yeah, be as authentic as you possibly can.
I think that's all. I honestly, that is kind of the only way to stand out, because like the idea is to stand out is to do something unique,
Mhm.
and there's never going to be something more unique than doing you.
Exactly.
That's so tacky. That's such a tacky thing to say, but it is true.
How long are you planning on continuing this path? Are you just going to do it forever, or do you have an exit strategy?
Well, my hope is, and always has been, that I will one day become a famous novelist and be able to do that primarily. However, I kind of really like this sort of thing. So I think that even should that happen, I will continue to do some version of this, right? I think it will like become much more sparse. It'll be like, oh, I want to talk about this. I'm gonna use whatever platform I have. Like this is assuming that YouTube is still around, because YouTube is always working on destroying itself.
Yeah, I think at this point, YouTube is it's too big to fail. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
I have no idea. Like Google has destroyed services for no reason before. I wouldn't. I hope you're right. I absolutely hope you're right, and I think there's reason to believe that you are right. Yeah, but I think I'm hoping to. I'm not putting all my eggs in the YouTube basket. I would. I do picture myself once again quite arrogantly. Do you know Phil Rosenthal?
I don't think so, no.
He's a television producer. He's just a television producer. Who I think he did like Everybody Loves Raymond or something.
Oh,
Um, that television show, and he has like a show now on Netflix where it's just him. He's not a famous actor. He's just a producer with like a magnetic, super nice guy persona. And he does like he travels around the world to try restaurants like how the way that Bourdain did it, but it with
oh,
a very different style. He's not like Bourdain. He's just very excited about everything that he does and eats and everyone he meets.
oh.
Um,
Well, that sounds like
I
fun.
would I would love to at some point when I'm like 50 years old be that guy. But that's I mean that is a very distant sort of idea. I'm not planning on doing this forever, but I do very much enjoy it. So life's gonna take me weird places, I think. Life goes weird ways. But if I do this for the rest of my life, I'm not gonna complain.
So when people ask you about your job, how you describe what you do to people? Like, do you just come out and say you're a YouTuber, or do you have some sort of cover story?
So I people find out. People find this out. I don't know why. I'm not a big YouTuber, but so I move a lot in nerdy spaces, and people eventually find out. I try not to tell people. I tried not to tell people for a while. I feel like at this point, I guess I do tell people because I know they'll find out inevitably anyway. But I went back to university like a year or two ago, and within like 48 hours, people were talking to me like, "Oh, you're the guy who does YouTube."
Oh,
And then I tell them, right? Then I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. Um, sometimes it's also like it comes up because it's like, oh yeah, I have to work at 10 in the evening tonight. It's like, what the fuck do you do that you work at 10 in the evening? It's like, yeah, well, I have my live stream with my patrons, right? And then that's sort of what happens because it is a little bit of a weird job that makes you keep weird hours, and people will inquire about that. Yeah, but I don't keep it a secret. I don't keep it. I'm a bit ashamed of it, but I don't keep it a secret.
why are you ashamed of it?
Mm, I don't know. It feels. I guess I'm still very much in the mindset of that thinking of like I grew up very sort of working class, right? I grew up extremely poor. I grew up in the care system. I grew up being told that I should never even attempt to get my A levels, which is I don't know if that's like in that's your high school in America. I shouldn't attempt high school.
I
Uh,
think so. I think that's roughly analogous to what high school is.
Which I don't. I think in America, everyone is encouraged to do high school. I don't think you have a lot of
Yes.
people who flunk out after middle school. In Germany, it is a little different because a significant portion of people they stop after middle school and then they go into into the trades. They start an apprenticeship. That's not like an odd thing. It's a bit more selective for high school, but not overly so. And then like now I'm 30 and I'm still in university, but that's because I started again several times. No, I'm still, but I grew up with this sort of mindset that anything that is like not doing something with your hands is not real work. And I grew up with, there was always this in the early days of YouTube, whenever someone was thinking about like doing this as a career, everyone would hate on them. And even though I disagreed with that at the time, I think it like imprinted on me. And also, I don't want people to think I'm a pedophile. Quite frankly, I don't want people to just assume like, oh, so you groom teenagers. Like, no, no. I hope they achieve greatness.
No, no. I was gonna make a joke about that, but it's not. It's not happening. It's staying up here. I'm not saying anything. So
No, you can say it and like edit it out if you want.
I don't know. I encourage the audience to just imagine what joke I was thinking of there. That way I can't get canceled. All right. Have you ever been recognized in public, not counting, conventions or fan meetings or anything like that?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna ignore the wording of that question, and I'm gonna bring up a convention, but it's not what you think. And I'm gonna do the first one. The first one is not even that. I've been recognized in public twice outside of fan meetups. The first time was a couple of years ago. I was at my very first LARP that I went to, and we were like setting up, and there was like this guy who was like walking down the road. One of the players. I was an NPC. So I was in the NPC camp, and he came up as like a player, and he walked there, and he was looking at me like very intently, and I was like, okay, I mean, he's kind of hot, I
Okay.
what who knows, right? And so then we had like time in, so we were basically always in character. And then a couple days later, when we started like tearing everything down, some players would like come over to the NPC camp to help us out, and vice versa. And he like came up to me, and was like, "No, hey, yeah, dude, I love your content. I love the videos you make." And that's the very first time I was recognized in public. And it just blew my mind that I'd been interacting with this person for days, and he had known exactly who I was the
Oh,
whole time. That was
I
pretty
feel like
wild.
I feel like I'd be very uncomfortable after that. I'd be like, oh,
I,
this person has known me this whole time and didn't say anything. I don't know. I feel like that
it
would make.
is. He wasn't allowed to. It was not permitted. He
Oh,
can't do that because he would be breaking character.
oh,
He did it basically at the first opportunity in which the rules of engagement sort of allowed that.
either
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
I
So
feel
that
like
wouldn't.
I'd feel weird about it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. My very first fan meetup was strange because people came up to me and introduced themselves, and my brain, we were like standing in like a circle, and people came up to us like, "Hi, I'm this and that," and I always said like my name. I always introduced myself to them because my brain was like, "You've never met this person before. They cannot know who you are. It's not possible." And the second story was actually at a convention that I was putting together that has nothing to do with YouTube. It was a nerdy convention in my town. There's like the university here has like a tabletop pen and paper role playing group, and I was the chairman of that organization for a while because I really fucking care about this hobby a lot. I really, really, really care about it. And once a year, we basically put on the convention called Unicon, and I was the chairman, so I put it together, and I was just going around. I was organizing stuff. I was talking to people, and I was just checking in on like some of the people who were selling their peddling their goods there, basically. And then two customers I was like, are you the Burgerkrieg? And I'm like, yes, I am, but not here. This is my private life. Welcome to my private life. Here, my name is Gideon. I hope you're having a great time at the convention. What can I do for you? I was completely out of YouTube mode. And
I
this sometimes I think happens when people show up, especially to that sort of space. They like find out, but I always hope they knew me as a guy before that because I don't want people sort of putting me on a weird pedestal. Have
and
you
this
ever been recognized in public, James?
I have not really. Like a couple of years ago, I managed to get a ticket to the premiere of the Wheel of Time TV show. It was like 2 weeks before it premiered on Amazon. They showed the first 2 episodes in a theater near me, and I just managed to
Yeah.
get a ticket as like a regular goer. And then I went
Yeah.
there, and Lauren, who is the guy from Unraveling the Pattern, I believe, on YouTube, he recognized me, but he was actually invited there by Amazon, and he thought they invited me too. And I was trying to explain to him, no, man, I'm
Yeah.
just here to watch the show. Uh, that's the closest I've come to actually being recognized in public. That's about it.
Man, that's crazy because you're like significantly bigger than me.
I mean,
That's wild.
I guess, but I don't know. I guess I don't run in the
Do
sort
you
of
not
circles
run
that
in
recognize
nerdy
me.
circles? Do you not in private? Do you not go to the
Uh,
Ren
not
Fair?
not really. No, I have been trying to do that a bit more often lately, but it hasn't happened. Nobody's recognized me. And plus, I feel
Yeah.
like part of the issue is that I've just changed my look a lot over the years. Like I've had hair like this, I've had long hair, I've had glasses, I've had no glasses. And so
Yeah.
people will see me in one mode and then they just associate that with me and then they see me looking
Yeah.
and don't recognize me. That might have something to do with it. I don't know.
That's probably true. Yeah. That's actually that's pretty reasonable.
Does your social life have a lot of overlap with your professional life, or would you say those are very much separate spheres?
I try to keep it separate. I tried to do a little social miscegenation there for a while, but eventually a lot of my IRL friends joined my Discord server, and a lot of my fans became IRL friends of mine. I mean, people who who I don't see. Some people I've never met. So there's been a bit of a mix up. I try to keep it separate to a certain extent, but I've just failed at it. That's kind of yeah, that's kind of how it has happened.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I've kept mine pretty separate, but I guess that just doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I am in I make content for a space that I move in socially, also, like in a cultural space. So
That's true.
that
That's
that sort
true.
of happens,
I
and
think
there's like a lot of cool people.
yeah, I think most of my friends are not really in the same sphere that I'm in. They don't really read that much. They don't engage in these
Yeah,
communities. So I feel like that has helped me keep these things different. So how would you describe your relationship with your fans? Would you say it's good, bad, something else? How would you put it?
um, those I like the people. There's a lot of people. I mean, obviously, I don't see most of my fans, right? My perspective of my fans is skewed by like the fans that engage with me, the fans that are on my Discord, the fans that come to meetups, the fans that like comment and stuff. And I do read comments, by the way. I am one of those YouTubers that read comments. So don't be mean to me because I will cry. Um I by and large I really like my fans. I think they tend to be pretty cool people. I don't like feel sort of beholden to them, which is I think is a thing that really happens with a lot of creators. And I think something that happens with a lot of fans where they feel like they are like, oh, we made you who you are. And it's like, no, no, you didn't. You watch my content, and I'm glad you do, and I wish you the best. Um, but to be completely honest with you, I know that happens to people who are like very famous a lot, but it's not something that happened that like the people aren't don't really act super entitled. I guess also I'm not a woman, so I feel like then people act less entitled to me in my time. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, than they would if it was the other way around. I do like to stay in touch with people though. So usually when fans reach out to me via like email or Discord, I do try to get back to them, and I do tend to do that fairly quickly. Like a lot of the time, people like I didn't assume you'd ever get back to me, much less within like 10 minutes of me texting you. It's like, yeah, I was just cooking, man. I was making some pasta.
Yeah.
I don't want to be overly accessible. I reckon that'll have to stop if I become much more famous or like go down a significant amount. But I like talking to fans. I love talking to people.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I I think it's kind of fun to interact with fans, but also you got to be careful that you don't give off the impression that there is more there than there really is.
Yeah, that's what worries me sometimes. And to be honest with you, though, I have made like a few friendships with people that I actually am interested in. There have been people who have like specifically reached out to me in an attempt to befriend me. who went like, "Oh, we would be great friends," and it's like, I'm sure we would have been, but like we just didn't. That just life just hasn't arranged the universe that way. We didn't grow up in the same area. We weren't in touch via other means. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just saying there's only a limited amount of friends that I can have and
Yeah.
dedicate time to.
So, what's your favorite thing that's happened as a result of you starting this job?
Well, to stay on topic, I get to meet a lot of interesting people. I mean, we've belabored this a lot, so yeah, that's kind of a component of it. I get to lead a life that, as a child, I dreamed of having, but that everyone told me was impossible. I have like I cannot stand like authority. I can't stand people telling me what to do. But I think this is because I grew up in the care system, and sort of I get to do everything myself. I make all my own decisions, and I don't have to. I don't have to worry as much about like people judging me because they don't understand what's going on. Um, Another thing that I really enjoyed, and this is gonna sound like very sort of, oh, look at me, I'm such a hero. But like being given the opportunity to actually become sort of a trans rights activist. Because we all have our battle to fight, right? But for me, that's sort of the battle that I picked, and it's not like that. This has been a lifelong thing for me. I've always been for most of my life I was sort of ambivalent about trans people. I had my what is the name of the relationship that this is like nerdy as fuck. What is the English word for the name of the relationship that the guy has to Harry? What's his name? Black. Lucius Black, Sirius Black has
Oh,
to Harry Potter.
yeah.
Harry
What?
Potter is his ward.
Sirius Black is Harry Potter's godfather.
Yes, my godfather was a gay man. That's what I.
Okay.
So I've always been like in touch with like LGBT people and all that shit. Um, I knew a trans guy when I was a literal actual child. Though in like rural Spain, so we didn't think of it in those terms even. But I was always sort of, it was always sort of a, yeah, I mean, if they want to do that, let them do that. I don't really particularly care for it, but who am I to like stop them, right?
Yeah.
It's them. I'm not going to go protest for them, but like, who gives a shit? And a lot of my fans for some reason are trans. I don't know why that is, but it is the case. And a lot of them were like very nice to me. They explained to me a lot of the problems that they have in life, and it actually made me consider a lot of things from a very different perspective. And it allowed me to it opened up access to me to like a whole world of I guess struggle. And I found myself in a position where I had the platform to do something about it. Yeah, that's really been a great. Like it sounds weird and corny, but that really I
I,
think is one of my favorite things out of what has happened. And obviously also that I was able to like self-publish a novel and people actually buying it. So that's very
nah,
nice.
I don't think you're being corny at all. I think being able just to express your thoughts and maybe change
Yeah.
some people's minds is a pretty great part of this job. Because I mean,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, because I mean, I live in a city which is weirdly religious and conservative sometimes, and that sometimes gets on my nerves. It's hard to find people that see eye to eye with me on things, but I can at least just
Mm.
come out and say, "Hey, here's what I think to you guys," and maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but at least my thoughts are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's great. It's like it does its own work because I don't have to tell everyone what I believe.
Mhm.
They'll find it.
What is the strangest thing that you found or done as a result of this job?
I guess like going to meetups is kind of bizarre, right?
Yeah,
I
when you
feel, I
think
feel like
about it.
it's a very strange thing that it's like I'm going to this thing where people are coming from like far and wide to just meet me. To meet me. I actually met it's a great excuse to go places because it's like you can have a little vacation. It's tax deductible. That's lovely.
Mm.
Um, that's really cool because you are working. Like this objectively, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I have met other YouTubers a few times. Most recently, I met like Tim Hickson in Copenhagen.
Oh,
Um, that was really strange because I like got up at 3 in the morning to take a train all the way to Copenhagen from where I live, and then I we hung out for a couple hours, walked around town, and then I just took the train back the same day. I didn't even stay. Yeah, that was really cool. I guess it's really that sort of thing that is strange. I would love if in a couple years the answer to this question was different because I do like strange things. I am a big weird shit enthusiast.
yes, me too. Me too. I
Yeah.
if I didn't talk about weird and obscure books that I found, I would probably be one of those YouTubers who just finds weird corners of the internet and goes, "Hey, check this out."
Oh yeah, shouts out to Justin Wang there. I remember I was in touch and like subscribed to Justin Wang when he had 2,000 subscribers.
Oh, nice.
We were like in a very remote sense, boys. You know how there's like these sort of cohorts of new YouTubers that sort of vaguely form these sort of networks of people that sort of support each other a little bit. They subscribe to each other, they give each other
Yeah.
tips, and like, then like most of them just die off eventually. But yeah, I was like loosely connected to Justin Wang in that way, and I was really fucking happy when he had his big breakthrough because he really deserves it. I love the shit that he covers, and he has a pretty fun personality. And he also does the thing where he has like a different passion. For him, I think this is like music. He has this
Mhm.
metal band, which for me is writing. That I really appreciate.
So, what are your favorite and least favorite parts of your job? What's your favorite and least favorite thing to do?
We've already covered my favorite thing, and that's kind of when people reach out to me and are like, "Hey, you like whatever it is that you did had an impact on me, right?" I changed my mind about something, or I think the most common one that I get is like, I was thinking this, but I was completely unable to put it into words, and now that I can put it into words, I feel like I can understand it better and have like a better knowledge of myself and the world, and it's really made me feel like I'm not broken. That's often a sentiment that I hear, especially with young men, where they're like, I felt like I was just shit, but you explained this to me, and now I feel like I'm not, maybe.
Yeah, I
My
think you
least
have a
favorite,
very good
yeah.
way of explaining this and wording it in such a way where it's not overly academic and it's easy to understand what you're getting at.
Thank you. I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised that this is somehow a skill that other people don't have. Because to me, this is like, yeah, I just say that way. Just put it into those words. What is the problem? But apparently, that isn't something that everyone can do. So I guess that's also a way which I stand out. Um, yeah, my least favorite way is having to deal with YouTube. I don't feel like YouTube is really I feel like YouTube is on the side of creators in the sense that it understands that YouTube creators are its way of working. I just think that it doesn't really understand what its creators do. It doesn't understand why they do it. It doesn't really understand what creates the stable ecosystem of creators that allows them to serve up extremely niche content to people. Um, I think they are looking at creators as sort of an exploitable resource that you need to pacify and cultivate, as opposed to sort of like the talent. And for them, like every problem that exists needs to be solved because they're tech bros, right? They're Silicon
Yeah.
Valley tech industry people. So every problem that presents itself needs a technological solution. It needs a new algorithm. It needs a new sort of system that does it automatically. That kind of stuff, and that really bothers me because there's a lot of. I always see YouTube complaining about like, oh, it's not a profitable platform. We need to go into this ad block arms race and put even more ads, which completely deteriorate. Sometimes it really feels like they're working against me and deteriorating the user experience. Right? I want to bring my content to people, and they're making it the worst possible experience for those people. While you as a YouTuber are always like trying to optimize that experience for people. Um A great example of this is I used to say "see you around, cunts" at the end of my video because I thought this was fine. Because YouTube very explicitly says you can, so long as like swearing like this is not within the first 30 seconds of the video, it's not going to be a problem. And sometimes my videos would be demonetized, and I have a foul mouth. I don't understand the American obsession with swear words. I think it's sort of
Me neither.
it's a very American cultural thing. The rest of the world doesn't think this way, but of course it's an American website, right?
Hmm.
So but I always assumed like it couldn't be because of that, because the rules explicitly say that it isn't that. So it might be some other thing. It's very intransparent. But like recently, they've done this thing where if you contest that, if you go, I believe this is an erroneous demonetization, they will explain to you what the problem is.
Yeah.
But they will only explain this after that process, and then you can no longer change and appeal it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the tools are there to bleep shit. You can go on any YouTube video that you've made and like bleep things. You can remove. They have like AI tools now that help you remove music. You can blur stuff. It's whatever you need to do. But they don't. They only communicate after the last instance has passed, and they lose money too when they demonetize videos of yours. Now, I still think it's ridiculous because, like, the thing apparently is that the last 30 seconds of the video also count as the first 30 seconds of the video, because what they mean by the first 30 seconds of the video is within 30 seconds of an ad, which a lot
Oh,
of the time you have no control over as a YouTuber. But YouTube doesn't communicate this. They don't talk to creators. It's just, that's what I hate about this platform, is that it always feels like it's working against me. And it's like there's so many things that could be fixed by just the platform communicating with creators that they're refusing to do because it's just not a technological solution.
yeah. The only real solution I found to dealing with demonetization stuff is that I just upload my videos and keep them unlisted for a while. But when I'm
Yeah.
uploading them, I'll mark it as like, oh, it has strong language in the first 5 seconds or something. So it'll automatically be demonetized. And then I
Yeah.
can request a human review of it. And then when they come back, usually like 95% of the time, they just say, yep, you're good. And then monetization's
Damn,
fine.
you are
But the
lucky.
fact that I have to go through all this is obnoxious.
It must be because they see your handsome face and they're like, well, this guy gets to say whatever it is he's saying.
Maybe. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? In entertainment, most of the work happens before the cameras start rolling.
100%. Absolutely. When I hit record, that is the beginning of maybe the last 25% of the process of doing a video. Most of the time and energy is like research and writing and like preparing stuff. Now, and for me, this is I have a rather simple editing process. Well, aside from when I do certain videos, but most of the time, a very simple editing process. And I feel like with 25% for me, I'm even in the camp of like, with that's generous. A lot of other content creators probably for them it's like 5% or something because there's so much pre-production involved. People really underestimate how much work like the research and the writing is. So recently somebody told me like, oh well, it's like, how do you like you make like one video a month? How you should just make more videos because like it's just one a month. I know it's like an hour long, an hour and a half long, but it's like you put yourself in front of a camera and talk. I think that's not how it works. It takes a huge amount of time to put all those words out there. I script my videos. All my videos are fully scripted. I go off script sometimes, but I use a teleprompter. Um, and Yeah, it's crazy just how much work that takes and how people just don't I mean, how could you understand it if you don't do it? It seems very intuitive to me, but it probably isn't. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it really. I really agree.
I don't know. I feel like when I was a kid, I used to watch the special features on DVDs a lot. So you see like behind the
Yeah,
scenes how they made movies and stuff. So I feel like I always understood exactly how much work goes into this sort of thing.
yeah.
But I think people nowadays they don't really watch DVDs anymore, and streaming doesn't have the special bonus and stuff. So I feel like a lot of
I
people, especially
miss
younger
that
people,
shit.
yeah, I
I miss
I
that
miss it
so
too.
much.
But I feel like
I,
a lot of younger people just don't understand how much work goes into this because of that.
Dropout TV.
Yeah.
They have this with a lot of their shows because they a lot of them involve a lot of production. Almost all of them have a little behind the scenes thing, and I love that. I love seeing, especially in complex productions like theirs, how exactly they do stuff. It's very fascinating, and I love that in films. This is when I was a kid, when I would watch a scary movie, there was a trick that there's that you can do with kids, where if you like, there's a they're terrified after a movie. Where kids are weird, they get scared about weird shit. You
Yeah.
show them like the making off on the DVD, and then they see the monster is like a guy and he's having fun with the other actors, and it changes their perspective on the whole thing.
What would you say is the biggest difference between your job and a regular job?
There's no hierarchies. Um, I have no hierarchies. There's not even a because I work alone. I'm not like the boss of a company or something. I hate hierarchy. I don't like hierarchy. I find myself in life often vested with like authority or trust. Um, and people like put me in positions of sort of power. I like the ability to do something for them. I don't like the hierarchy that creates. Um, and it's a job that sort of um doesn't have that because I don't get told what to do by anyone, and I'm not someone who tells other people what to do. I'm probably my Discord mods would disagree, but yeah, there's sort of that's sort of a huge difference. Obviously, I don't go to an office. I don't do like the standard stuff. I don't have like a salaried income. I I was talking to my bank recently to like because I'm like at an age now where I had to change my account to like being no longer a youth account and I had to become a member of the credit union. I'm in a credit like most Germans. I'm in a credit union,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh well, but what do you mean you don't have like a regular income? Because you seem to have money. Like you seem to be making money." But it's like very irregular and like how does that work? It's like I'm a freelancer. I'm like legally in terms of taxes too on my tax return, I'm a freelancer. And this is people who work at a bank. They could not conceive of something like this. It's like am I you have to have other customers who are like this. There is no way I am the only one. But that is somehow what so that happens a lot of the time where they just when you don't have a regular job, a lot of the systems are not set up. Even though I think like 4% of people in the workforce of Germany are freelancers, like I don't understand
I I don't know.
how you don't know about that.
My taxes
Um,
in the ass to do every year, so I know what you're saying. It's just
I
not set
no
up for us.
I no this is okay. I to be fair, rip Americans. Being a freelancer in Germany in terms of taxes is heaven.
Is
I
it?
put in this is the amount I made, this is what I went out, this is the difference, this is what you can tax. They ask you to keep receipts and like designate if something comes from a foreign country, and they might be like, "Hey, can you show us the receipts?" But it has only happened to me once.
Oh,
Doing
okay.
taxes as a freelancer in Germany is the easiest thing in the world.
Oh, well, that sounds really nice.
um, Another difference to a regular job that I actually don't like is it's a very lonely profession. It's a very I am here and it's me and that's it.
In the past, would you have been able to find an equivalent to your job in traditional media?
I mean, I did when I was a kid. I did think about like being a news guy. Sometimes, I always liked being like on stage or on camera. I feel like I feel like I'm sort of I feel like I have a little bit of charisma, and I did assume that that would sort of happen, but I always it was important to me to sort of be myself. So maybe based on talent, I might have. However, again, I did grow up extremely poor. I don't think I would have had the connections. Well, I mean, back then it was much more dependent on connections.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if anything more dependent on connections nowadays.
You think?
Yeah,
I mean, okay, yeah, in traditional media, absolutely, yeah, of course. Yeah, I was thinking YouTube.
oh yeah, no, like traditional media. I mean, whether you're talking publishing books or being on TV or something, nowadays they're looking a lot more for people's like social media followers. Like, how many followers do you have on Instagram? Things of that nature. And so, knowing the right people and being connected to, I don't know, the studio or the publisher or whoever you're trying to work with, I think that's even more important nowadays than having
I
talent or
am
anything.
so focused on building a track record. I don't know if you know this, but I did self-publish a book at the beginning of this year, and it's actually
Mhm.
people are buying it and they're liking it very much. But I really want to traditionally publish the next one, and it's gonna. There's a good chance people will. There's a good chance a publisher will buy it because it's. There are things about it aesthetically that are very publishable, and that's all I'm going to say. But as
Okay.
I did try traditionally publishing the last one, and it was very sort of no, this is great. It's just a western, and nobody does that. Why would you try that? Don't try this. We can't sell. It doesn't matter how good it is. We literally cannot sell this to like a publisher. Um, and yeah, I feel like me having a pre-established audience is gonna be my. I feel like that's gonna be a huge thing to leverage
Yeah.
into the industry of writing as opposed to merit
Hmm.
of the work published. And I mean, I don't want to. I don't know if I feel like it's always been that way to a certain extent, right? The arts are ultimately for the upper class as a profession,
Yeah.
and I am determined to get there. Still,
I mean,
people are not as willing to take risks, I guess.
yeah. I for what it's worth, last year I did try sending out a manuscript of mine to some agents, and I haven't
Yeah,
been sending it out for a while. It's like something I'm trying to revise and edit and make
yeah,
better before I request or excuse me, before I send it out to people again. But for what it's worth, they did spend a lot of time asking me about like my social media following, and I did try to emphasize that yes, I have a YouTube channel with this many people because that's a marketing opportunity for them. And
yeah, yeah.
I think I got more attention from them because of that. Like none of them accepted my
Definitely.
manuscript, but I think I got more attention because of that.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. You can have a really fucking good manuscript, but the like the an agent who reads it can be just like, yeah, I this is good. I couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
I don't know who to sell this to. And I mean that's a big problem with public. They're also hella overworked. I think during the pandemic, almost half of agents quit the industry.
Hmm.
It's a really, and they get like they're super underpaid too.
Would you recommend that other people try to enter this field and why or why not?
I wouldn't recommend people enter this field with the professional intent. There's people, friends of mine, who were like, "Oh, do you think I could do this and make money?" It's like, I think you could do this. I'm not sure if you could make money. I think actually it is crucial in order to make money with this. It is crucial to not set out with the goal to make money,
Hmm.
because the rewards needs to be in the work itself, which as a socialist I hate that it is this way. um but you really need to be passionate about what you do, and that is what needs to keep you going, because there is no guarantee that you will find like a niche of people who are interested in what you do, or that you will find it even in a timely manner, because it might take you a year, 2 years, 3 years to develop your style, to find what you actually care about, and for then people to maybe through a complete fluke in the algorithm find a video of yours that you did 2 years ago or some shit.
Yeah.
It's very, there's a huge amount of luck involved, and I don't, even though I did it um with that intent, I was very stupid. Please don't be stupid. I do very much encourage people to pursue this as a form of creative expression, and I actually would like to see more extremely authentic, weird shit that doesn't appeal to a lot of people on this platform. And maybe I just don't see it because YouTube obviously tries to optimize, but I feel like the algorithm is kind of good at recommending content that I am actually interested in, and I do sometimes see something like it, and I always I like that it's there because that's the sort of outsider art that outside I call it outsider art. That's the sort of stuff that really, when you do this professionally, that's the stuff that really inspires you, keeps you going.
I think the thing you said about needing time to develop your style and figure out what works, I think it's even more difficult because if you don't have an audience, you're not going to get a lot of feedback, and people aren't leaving comments or anything, so you're not really going to hear about what you're doing well and what you're doing poorly and what works and what doesn't. You really got to just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks for a while.
Although I would caution people against following every bit of advice their audience gives them.
Oh, yeah. Your audience
because
is probably full of idiots.
Yeah. That's first of all that they literally don't understand what it is you do. A lot of them just want you to make content exclusively for what they like.
Mhm.
And there's some who just they think they know, and they will just pretend like they can they will pretend like they can give you advice even though they have no idea. And you could always, I wouldn't say kneecap yourself with it, but I think your own intuition, your own expertise is always a bit more valuable, perhaps. And I would say this even with other YouTubers, because everyone on YouTube, every single you know this, you with me on this journey. Everyone on YouTube wants to think that they understand what it is they do. And there's a lot of the amount of shit people go on of oh, this is the algorithm and the numbers and you have to check your analytics. And there's so much a lot of what you do is just look at numbers and engage in sort of numerical haruspexy with it. And you guess stuff based off that. This isn't really actionable data you're working with. There's way too many variables that you literally cannot account for. So you should really focus on doing. You should try advice YouTubers give you, but if it doesn't feel good to you, don't do it.
Yeah, I would like to walk back what I said earlier. When I said your audience is full of idiots, I meant everyone else's audience, not my audience. My audience, they're beautiful geniuses.
Yes, my audience as well. Also, they're all very smart and they've never said anything stupid.
All right. So if you were a different type of online content creator, like if you weren't a YouTuber, what would you be? Would you be like a podcaster or a streamer? What do you think?
I would be a Twitch streamer. I feel like I did try doing Twitch for a week. I just hate the platform. It communicates even worse than YouTube in terms of how much it communicates. And then you basically have to stream 27 hours every day and complete. I would be just exhausted. I would die. I'm not surprised that Hassan goes to the kitchen for 2 hours to make chicken tendies while some videos playing. I mean, it's fucking exhausting to be on all the time.
Yeah.
That is probably what I would do. I would hate it more than this. I wish I could be like a Come Town style podcaster where I meet my friends 2 times a week and we just talk. We say the stupidest things in our heads for an hour.
That sounds heavenly.
Then we make millions of dollars every year.
It sounds heavenly.
That's really great. Shout out to them for stopping doing that. That really shows some growth and evolution because they're all doing better now too. I love that for them.
So if you were working a regular job, what do you think you'd be doing?
I would be on my back, sort of 6 feet underground, dead.
Oh, okay. That went in a different direction than I was expecting.
Yeah, it went down. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I mean, you know what? Maybe I could do porn. People have asked me for OnlyFans. I guess they always do, right?
Yeah.
I Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean.
I mean, I
No,
did
this
have
is.
yeah, yeah. No, sorry, I'm not going to say that on here. Go ahead.
I would love to hear what you have to say. I would probably have this job really, literally, actually, genuinely saved my life. I would say.
Oh,
I feel like that's not unreasonable of me to believe that this job actually, because I think about working a regular job, and I'm like, I might even be good at it. I recognize that I have the charisma and I have like maybe the leadership skills. I might even be able to climb the corporate ladder in an office environment if my hatred for authority didn't preclude that from happening. But I would eventually kill myself. It would happen. This is not a like I have to be creative. I've known since I was like 11 years old that I have to do this sort of creative job. And that's just the hand I was dealt in life. So I mean I may well be dead if I didn't do YouTube and I did a regular job instead.
well, I'm glad you started doing YouTube.
Yeah,
And
this I
so,
know this I'm not to bring down the mood or anything. I haven't been suicidal in many years.
all right, so the generic term for people like us is influencer. Do you call yourself an influencer?
I do, but I shouldn't. I should call myself content creator. Because like I feel like influence is a term of shame. I'm not an influencer. A lot of my closest friends know and understand this because I've explained it to them, and that made them double down on calling me an influencer. Because I don't take advertisements. I don't do advertisements. I literally actively just do content. That is what I make. I say influencer in a self. I when I say it on one hand because I want people to understand what it is that I do, but mostly I say it in a self-deprecating manner so people don't think I'm full of myself, which is deceitful because I am. Um, yeah, I should call myself content creator, but unfortunately, I always do. I always find myself saying influencer, even though I hate that term. And I don't really like influencers as like a business model. I think it's disingenuous. I like I feel like it's okay if you do like if you take an ad. Oh, this video is sponsored by whatever the fuck. They gave me money. Buy their wet wipes or some shit. And, sometimes they even advertise good products on YouTube. But just this sort of fake lifestyle bullshit, I think, is actually a very toxic thing to be contributing to society. And I think those people are in a similar sort of area as like investment bankers in terms of like how much they contribute to society. But I think that's a sliding scale. A lot of people just really want to make what they want to make, and then they take some opportunities to make money. And I don't really begrudge them for that. You got to secure that bag. We live in a society, folks.
All
Have you
right.
ever taken sponsorships, James?
Oh yeah, several times. Like you said, I gotta get that bag. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
uh take sponsorships from people like BetterHelp. They offered me one a while ago, and I was like, no, I don't like your company. I don't like what you do, so I'm not doing it.
see, this is always a thing for me because like things will offer themselves to me and be like, "Oh, this is good. This seems like a good thing." I'm suspicious because I don't fucking know what it's like if this is a I like I when I thought about what I if Honey had like approached me for a sponsorship, I would have said no based on like because I thought like this is weird, but I wouldn't have thought anything suspicious about it because I'm not like a fucking scamming genius. I don't understand how the fuck that shit works. Right, so like I understand scams in like an academic sense because they're cool, but it's like this sort of thing I'm not really I don't think about that stuff all day, so I really don't feel like I have the faculties to adjudicate that.
Yeah. I yeah, just I feel like if it's not actively a scam, I'm okay taking it. And if they are good enough at scamming to fool me, maybe they deserve the money. I don't know. Because I'm pretty good at catching
That's
scams
true.
personally.
That's true.
Like,
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah, I don't know. When you I also grew up fairly poor, and when you grow up fairly poor in America, there's a lot of scams all over trying to offer you ways out, and so I just feel like I
Yeah.
was inoculated from a young age.
Yeah, for me, like the scams that I know that I can detect is like the scams of like the homeless guy being like, "Oh, I have to go to this town because my family's there, but I don't have money for a train ticket." And those are the kind of scams where I'm like, I'm just even if I think you're scamming me, I'm just gonna give you $2 because
Okay.
like I don't care for the. I don't really. It's not that much money to me. And if ever there was a person actually in that situation, I wouldn't like want to make things needlessly complicated for them. But yeah, this sort of getting out of shit, getting out of the life stuff, that's not. I mean, that's just not as much of a thing in Germany. Certainly, it happens, but I've not really, I've not. It's not really been as present in my life as perhaps it has been in yours.
So, last one. This is going to be the super special bonus surprise question. Are you ready?
I'm not prepared for this.
Okay, well, we're going to do it anyways. So, if
Shit.
you could cuckold one world leader, who would you cuck and why?
Oh, this is really difficult. I'm thinking about the 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 wives and the husbands of world leaders. I mean, obviously, obviously Melania Trump is hot. Um, is it Melania? Is this that's what his wife?
Yeah,
Ivanka
Melania.
is the kid.
Yeah, Ivanka is the
Well, the
kid who
kid
is
who
named after
if
is
was
named
still
after his
I
second
think
wife.
she's like 40 or something still. I mean, she is hot, but I don't think Donald Trump is like aware of reality. I don't think he's seen her in so long that if he would even know. It would have to like count. It would feel like it would have to count for something.
Okay,
Shit, man, this is really hard.
that's why I asked it.
Uh, I feel like I'd have to consult my think tank for this.
You have a think tank about cuckolding world leaders?
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, it's not the only thing that they consider, but it was very very much up their alley. If like Sanna Marin's husband instead of Sanna Marin had been the prime minister of Finland or the president, I don't even know which one, then maybe him, but it was her. I don't know who. I mean, maybe her husband is hot. Who knows?
Honestly, I'd have sex with her husband just so I could be within 100 yards of her. I think I'd be okay doing that. Why not?
Just with it, so like with the like if it's maybe there would be a chance that she's sitting in the cock chair and you're
Yeah,
like,
maybe. I'd be okay with
do you want to join in?
it.
Would you like to participate?
I'll take my chances.
You know what? I feel like JD Vance's wife is hot though. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know.
I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that. That's a
I
good
like
answer. Yeah.
JD Vance if he wasn't like if my brain wasn't fried with the cartoons and if he wasn't like the most vile person in the universe aside from like half the other people in the Trump administration, he would be attractive also probably, maybe. Visually at least. I don't know. I just work here.
Okay. I'll admit I wasn't expecting that. That's a good answer. Okay. So I think that's about all it for the questions. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming in. This was very enlightening. I liked picking your brain. Please feel free to promote anything and say any last words to the audience.
Yes, I'm so you can check out my work on the Burgerkrieg. I talk about things that interest me, which are mostly tabletop role playing games, specifically World of Darkness and like feminism, but with a male point of view. Um, and sometimes other things. And also I have a channel where I do short stories. It's called Who is Betty? And it would honestly make my dick hard if you could go to purchase my novel Harm's Place, which is on drive through fiction, because I didn't want to work with Amazon. And people have been reading it, people have been loving it, which is not what I expected. I do think it's a good book, but I didn't think that people would appreciate it as much as they do. Um, Yeah, that's what I'm pitching. Also, check out there's a YouTube channel called James Tallis, which is not this one. It's a
No.
different, but it also has the guy here
Yeah.
on it. You should check that one out.
Tullis. If you are
Yeah.
watching this channel without knowing about that, then go check out the James Tullis channel. I should probably come up with a better outro for these things because I don't really have one yet. But you know, if you're watching,
How about you can have my old outro, which is like, and see you around, cunts.
no, YouTube doesn't like that word. Remember?
That
So,
is true, actually. Well, you might have to bleep it. I don't want to make
well,
more work for you, but
I don't know. I'll see you around, friends.